Switzerland in late summer. Turquoise lakes framed by snowy mountains under the bluest skies you can imagine. Iced coffee in the sun after a long hike, home-baked bread with cheese for breakfast, and long mornings reading, watching the fog lift. We decided we would go for a quick trip on a very short notice, but since I knew we would have quite nice summer weather, I had this vision in my head that I'd knit a silk top to wear while discovering Lucerne and surroundings. Do you ever get that? You have a kind of bad week, you haven't been on vacation yet, and your brain suddenly goes, everything would be so much better if I was standing next to a glacial lake in Switzerland in a cute little silk top I made myself. Well, I'm extremely lucky that for me, Switzerland is just a 3.5-hour car drive away, so I actually got to do that. And let me tell you, my friends, all that glitters, but more on that later. I pored over Ravelry for way too long, trying to find a pattern that would work for both the limited amount of time I had on hand, as well as use up yarn I already had stashed, and I landed on the Willow Wisp top by wool&pine. I have been wanting to try their patterns for quite some time, since while they are quite pricey, they are supposedly also some of the best written patterns out there. Let's grab a cup of something to drink and talk about the pattern and my project before I'll take you along on me packing knitwear for my trip. And then let's wrap it up by having a quick look around Lucerne and taking about the second biggest fright I got while in Switzerland. Alright, let's go. I got a new tripod. It's so much easier. I should have done this ages ago, it wasn't even expensive, but I hope it's going to really improve the quality a little bit. Anyway, let's get to it. So, the Willow Wisp top, I have it here. Let me grab it. Here we go. Let me turn it to the knit side. And I'm going to hold it up for you. There we have it. So you can see it's this very cute V-neck top. I have crisscross straps, so that's why it looks a little bit weird. That goes into this beautiful lace pattern. I'm going to hold it up close to the camera so you can get a good look. And I think you can see how structural and pretty this lace is. And then it goes into this cute bobble bind off. I was very glad I picked this specific color because I was thinking about something that was a little bit more pink, and then I was like, oh god, no, I can't do that because the bobble bind off is going to look like little polyps if I do. So I went with this kind of more neutral color in the end. And in the back we can see that we have a little bit of ribbing and a little bit of stockinette stitch, and then we also have this lace pattern. So this is a super cute summer top, and it's knit in Knitting for Olive pure silk. But I have a few gripes with the pattern, with the yarn, so let's get into that. First of all, I had fit issues with this top, and I filmed a little short clip where you can see me wear it so you can kind of get a better idea of it. So let me now hand over to that. Apologies for the messy hair and overall outfit. I just finished working out, but I just quickly wanted to show you which fit issues I mean when I'm talking about this top, because from the front this fits really nicely in my opinion. So you can see this is kind of well fitting, the v-neck's not too deep, it's all fine. So this looks really nice. Sorry for the noise, my cat is shredding his little sharky, little scratch shark, which now looks like this because he scratched it a lot. But yeah, so from the front it's fine. I feel like it could be a little bit, I should have probably picked a smaller size to have a bit more like high-waisted. You can see the lace part starts at a nice like distance because it kind of sits on my natural waist, so that's all good. Now the fit issues I'm having with this are in the back. So you see this is kind of hanging down badly and I can kind of fix it by just pulling it down more. I've layered this hair over another top. I feel like that doesn't look that great. And that is already after gathering here a little bit. So I kind of smoked and then pulled it together as tightly as I could, which already got rid of a little bit of the excess fabric here. Yeah, so, and it is just kind of a little bit annoying because I did swatch and it should have been fine. If anything, it should have been too small. But yeah, so that's what's kind of bothering me with this fit, and I thought maybe it was just me, but I went through all of the projects that people did. I think there's about 50 on Ravelry, and there was a repeating pattern, which is people saying the back was too big. So it's not just me. So I would say if you are making this top, maybe consider reducing the number of stitches you cast on in the back by like 1 lace repeat. That should maybe work. Because I don't know, I really don't like this kind of, feel like a basketball hoop almost, like someone could throw a ball in there or something. Like you can see how big it is here. But yeah, I'm sure I'll find someone who this fits more nicely or looks better in this. It's just not it for me really, unfortunately. Sorry again, more scratching. But yeah, that's the kind of summary of it all. I just think the bubble bind off came out nicely. And it's not like I hate this top at all, and I did see quite a few patterns, no, not patterns, I did see quite a few projects on Ravelry where it actually worked out really, really beautifully, and it looked super nice what people did, and the back was fitting fine. So I don't know what's causing that issue necessarily for me and for other people. But yeah, that was kind of the worst fit issue I've ever had with any garment, I have to say. Maybe my back is just not very muscular. That could definitely be it. I have one relative who goes swimming quite a lot, so she might fare better with this, and I'll see if it works for her. Otherwise I'll keep it and layer it under other stuff, because that looked quite cute. I did that when we went to Lucerne and I was happy with it. I think I have a video of it, but yeah, that worked. But yeah, just wanted to show you my issues with this. So yeah, as you can see, there were some glaring fit issues here. There's one way to fix it that wool&pine themselves suggested, so I might actually try this. It involves like threading a little bit of yarn through the I-cord cast on here, so I might give that a go, but otherwise, as I said, I will give it away, and I'm sure I'll find a home for it with someone who it fits beautifully. But yeah, that was a little bit of a letdown for me, especially because I did gauge swatch, and at first I thought, okay, it's going to be my fault because my gauge is notoriously off usually, but then it turns out that there were lots of people who were having kind of the same issues with it. So yeah, I think if you're knitting this, just pay super close attention to the back and make sure it's not too wide, and I would maybe suggest casting on the number of stitches needed for like 1 size smaller, even to make the back fit better. I also, so far they've held up surprisingly well. I also had a bit of concern about these I-cord straps, because I feel like they're going to be prone to stretching. So far it's been okay-ish. I am going to see how it behaves after a wash or two and keep you posted on that. But yeah, to the pattern. So the pattern, wool&pine's patterns are described on their Ravelry front page more than like knitting experience, and it was a super well written pattern. I have to definitely give it that. I found it a tiny bit expensive. I think it's definitely warranted to charge a high price for knitting patterns because it's very labor intensive to design them, and I guess if I wouldn't have been willing to pay the price, then I wouldn't have had to knit this top, and that was fine. But for me it was kind of on the upper border of what I would spend on a top pattern personally, and because of that I think I would have been a little bit less critical if it had been a bit cheaper, but because of that I had a few issues with the pattern. I'm going to hold up a page and kind of cover the parts so you won't see the pattern, but this is a good example of the conditions I knit under, because my cat ate like half the page and spit it out like in various random pieces over the floor everywhere. But yeah, so this is the pattern, and I tend to print out my patterns quite often because I find it easier to follow if I print out. And for me personally, I'm a little bit annoyed. This looks beautiful if the pattern has half of the page being a picture that I'm not printing out, because it feels like kind of a waste of ink that much. And also with the formatting of the pattern, like this page is for joining in the round and for the bobble bind off, and I feel like if you put a picture of a photo on the page for the bobble bind off, then I would personally have picked one of a project that actually had bubbles, so I could see again what it would look like if I do the bubble bind off. It also said that there were tutorials, video tutorials that came with the pattern, and it's true. There's a tutorial on the bubble bind off, there is a tutorial on the fit of it. They were both quite good, like especially the bubble bind off tutorial was good to follow as well. I would probably not have been able to follow this instructions alone, I would have messed that up, so it was good to have this video tutorial to go with it. I feel like I would have expected it to be a tiny bit more handheldy because of how it's described as being like a knitting experience with photos, videos, and all quite structured, but I was able to follow this pattern easily, and I think if you have knit a few lace projects, then you will also be able to follow it easily. I really liked that the lace was charted and written out, so it was easy to follow that, and the lace has a repeat, so you kind of like start to know how it goes. It also has these kind of like lines running through it that are relatively easy to follow, so I feel like if you have done a little bit of lace work in the past, then this is going to be an okay project to try. Let's go over to the yarn. So this is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, and I do like how the finished projects in it come out. I feel like they have a really beautiful drape. They look really cute. I don't like knitting with it that much, I have to say, because it's quite a splitty yarn and you always have to really pay attention to what you do. I also find that you have to kind of be quite careful with the yarn when you wash it afterwards, because I made one of my very first sweaters in that yarn and I found that it didn't age super well. It kind of feels a tiny bit brittle, but that's on me because I think I washed it a little bit too harshly. In fact, let me just go and grab that sweater so you can get a look. Here we have it. This is a ranuncular sweater. This was my very first ranuncular sweater. I was very inexperienced and I am quite nostalgically attached to it, but to be honest, I haven't grabbed it once this summer. I have not been gravitating towards it at all, I think. So I'm trying to see if there's a spot where you can kind of see. Yeah, so if you look here, then you see that we have a little bit of pilling yarn kind of like dissolving a tiny bit, and it feels kind of like it's sucking the moisture from your fingers almost. But I think that really is, I'm going to keep you updated on how this one ages, because it would be a good comparison to have. I think this is to my inexperience in handling knitwear. You can see I was quite an inexperienced knitter when I made this. It has some mistakes in the lace yoke, which I notice now, but I didn't back then. So that's okay, I guess. And also it's very very wide and not very long. So it's like I have the shape of a toast bread, I guess. So I have not been grabbing this summer, but I might. Like now I'm looking at it, it's not the worst, but yeah, it just would have made it much longer now and not so wide at all. But yeah, I think it also stretched out a bit unevenly when I washed it, so it's like became wider but not longer. So all in all, not the easiest yarn to knit with, but the finished products look nice for sure. But if you do knit with it, then pay a bit better attention to yarn maintenance than I did here, because as you can also see in this, it hasn't aged super well, and it's not super old. I think it's like 2 or 3 years old at this point. So yeah, this is kind of what I have to say on the Willow Wisp top by wool&pine. And yeah, let me know if you feel inspired to make one too, maybe for next summer. It might be a little bit late for this one because it's leaving us at a really fast rate, and I have to say I'm super excited for autumn. So I ended up taking quite a lot of knitwear on this trip, and I actually got to wear most of it. And the things I didn't get to wear is actually because the weather was even better than I had expected. So let me take you along and explain what I was packing and why. Let's start with the accessories. So what I'm packing is this plain hat. It's just plain stockinette stitch, and it's the Knitting for Olive. There's like thin merino yarn held together with the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair. It's super cute, really simple. It might be cold on top of the mountains, so I'm taking that. And I'm taking these pretty fingerless mittens that my mother-in-law made for me that have this cute little flower motif on them. For the same reason, because it might be cold on top of the mountains. I know that they're made with like Malabrigo in the colorway glitter, but I don't know what the other yarn is and I don't know the pattern. And I'm taking my Hiedra headband. The pattern is I think by 100 Acre Wool, but I'll list it below. I think it's super cute, and it's knit in, I think in Ulysses by the Rerum Natura, so it's 10% silk in it, and I can kind of feel that. And for general knitwear, I'm taking my Kuutar tee. The pattern is by Sari Nordlund, and it's knit in Camarose Lofthand, so it's 100% linen. So since it's supposed to be mid-high 20 degrees, it should be really nice to wear in those temperatures because it's not going to be too hot. And I'm probably not even going to pack this, but just wear it immediately on the drive. This is my newest finished object, the Willow Wisp top by wool&pine. And I'm taking my Sommer sweater by Lena Holmesamsø, the pattern is, I think. So it's this gorgeous leaf motif around the yoke, and it's knit in Drops Muscat. So it's a super hardy hiking sweater for me because I just put it through the washer, and I think the dryer as well. Don't take me up on that, don't do that necessarily. But so far it's survived everything, so I think that's going to be nice to wear when hiking. So here we have the little Switzerland pile of knitwear that's coming along. I loved Lucerne. Would recommend going to anyone really, and I'm not at all a city person. This adorable little city has a rich history starting in the early Middle Ages and has its root in a Benedictine monastery that was built here around 750. It's located at the shore of Lake Lucerne, and you'll find stunning blue water all across the city. In the city centre, the lake is spanned by medieval wooden bridges, which brings me to the little scare I had when walking through the city at night. What I didn't know was that the entire underside of the bridge is populated by a rare species of bat, the Benton's bat, whose colonies are always found near water. So I adore bats, but from a safe distance. They're truly amazing little creatures, and I love learning about them and watching videos online, but in real life, getting close to them seriously freaks me out. They're so fast and move in a way that looks so erratic to the human eye that I never really trust them to not just crash land in my face or hair. So here I was, just after sunset, strolling to the car after an excellent plate of pasta, and I had the brilliant idea to just cross that beautiful bridge again in the night, when it was mostly empty, and oh boy, bad idea. Fortunately, my husband spotted the bats immediately and was like, are those bats? And we just turned on our heels and never even got close to the bats, but that was already too close for me. However, I did read up on these bats after, and they're really, really cool. They're endangered, but there's hundreds of them living under these bridges, mostly eating small insects flying above the water. In case you're interested, I'll leave some links with more information in the description. Lucerne also had this cute little wool store, but we arrived at a time when it was already closed, so I unfortunately didn't get to go in. However, the view through the window was amazing, showcasing hundreds of balls and skeins of gorgeous yarns. The Google reviews were also really good, so if you're ever in the area... Anyway, I also have a new cast on for you, a little cast on, so let's quickly talk about that one. There's not that much to tell yet. It's kind of scrunched and bunched up, but as you can deduct here, it is the beginning of a sweater, and it's in fact the beginning of the Seleste sweater by Sari Nordlund. I have been looking at this pattern for years, wanting to make it. It's this gorgeous little sweater that has a lacy bobble yoke. I am already cursing myself for picking yet another bobble project, because I don't really like making them that much, but the way they are done in this pattern is super easy and like it's really as simple as it can be. It doesn't involve turning the work at all. So far I'm having a lot of fun knitting this. I can never make it all stretched out, but like look here, it's so cute, it's so nice, and I'm knitting it in drop spell, which is a little bit lighter than the yarn used in the pattern, because I hope to have a little like in between the season sweater that's kind of covering the time in between like summer and autumn when you're out in the late evenings, or early autumn when it's not super cold yet. So it's supposed to be a light sweater that I can also wear for hiking and going out. I'm trying to get this done as soon as possible because I have some things planned where this will come in super handy. So this is kind of being a speed knit. I even have kind of a plan on how to finish it super quickly. So stay tuned on how that's going, because I also have quite an interesting story on where I cast this on that I will definitely remember for years to come. This time I do actually have acquisitions as well, but I'm saving them for the next or second to next video, because I actually went to a wool fair and I am super excited to talk to you about that more in depth in one of my next videos, because it was really, really nice. I had a great day. I went to Monsheim to the Wool Fest, and yeah, it was just really great. From the little ice cream van in front of it to the yarn vendors that were exhibitioning their yarn, it was just super good experience all around, and I'm going to tell you all about it in my next video. So I hope you liked this one. If you did, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'm now going to run because I have a little movie date with friends. We're going to watch Jaws, and I'm quite excited because I haven't watched it yet. So I'll catch you in my next video. Bye!